cloud, and we are recording. All right. So the goal of this, there's two goals for being able to do roundtable sessions. The number one goal, and probably the most important part of this, how many of you want to get credit for the DCP program for your club officer training? For those of you who don't want to get credit for it, why? Or did you just decide not to raise your hand? Good enough too. So this is the way that we get credit for the DCP program. And the reason is simple. Toastmasters said, we love the idea of everyone being able to join training online and being able to participate in a new way to be able to go through training. We think that's the best way we can possibly do this. And we said, that's fantastic. They said, well, the problem is, if we do that, how do we know that they're actually going to go, and how do we know that they're actually learning something? We want there to be a live component to all of our trainings. So if you went to one of the Zoom sessions, congratulations, you've already accomplished the live training portion, and you're here just out of the goodness of your heart. If you've not gone to any of the Zoom sessions, this is the live portion that allows you to get credit for your club officer training, to be able to add that live portion in. We want to do the roundtable not as an additional training, but as a conversation. We want this to be a conversation to help all of you, especially those of you who may not have ever been able to be a club officer before, answer those questions about what you should really expect about being a club officer. Because I'll be honest, I got this handy little manual the first time I was a club officer in 2013. Do you think this prepared me, the club officer handbook, for everything that came up during that year that I was first time I was a club officer? No, not at all, because we are people, and our clubs are consisting of people, and people are complicated, and they want different things, and we reach them in different ways. So the club officer handbook and the trainings are great foundations to be able to help build a training program to help us start with this. But it is not the place to end. The greatest thing about Toastmasters is our willingness to share our experiences with others, to help others grow and walk with them on their journey. That is the idea of the roundtable. We right now have a 70-person roundtable, which is way bigger than will fit on Deanna's patio right now. But there's 70 folks here. All of you are club officers, some of you for the first time, many of us for the, I couldn't tell you how many of time, but we all have experiences here. So I wanted to get everyone together with a group of folks who also are willing to share some of their experiences and what it's been like for them to be a club officer in the past, things they've learned, and that all-important question, what do you know now that you wish you knew then? What do you know now that you wish you knew then? Because I'll be honest, I have been a president 9 times, I've been a VPE 8 times. They've all been different experiences, and every time I walk away thinking, if only I had known that thing before I started this journey. So we want to give all of you a reference tool to help you along the way to becoming more effective, not just treasurer or secretary or president or VPE or VPM or VPPR. We want to help you just be a more effective servant for your club, to help your clubs take the next step, to help your members grow a little bit more within their roles, within their journey itself. So with that tonight, we have a number of folks who have volunteered to help share some of their experiences. And we're going to call on them kind of one at a time, and I'm sure I'm going to miss some folks because the emails came back fast and furious last night, and I'm positive I'm going to probably miss somebody here. But there are a couple of folks who stepped up right away and said, I would love to help and love to share some of those experiences. So first up, I would love to call on Lisa to talk a little bit about what she might have learned in the past and what advice she would have for incoming club officers for this time as well. Lisa, the floor is yours.
Thanks, Scott. Wow, well, I am in my second year as VP of Education for my club, and then basically my first year into Toastmasters, I was voted in as president of my club. And what I think that my biggest takeaway has been as an officer is the leadership experience, the learning to work with other people. Every year it's a new mix, and everybody brings a different skill set in. And it's really key that you lean on one another, because you may have more organizational skills than somebody else. You may have a vision for your role that you really want to make sure that you accomplish. And you just need to really be open and share your vision with your other officers so that they can help you meet that goal. For example, I always start off the year as VP of Ed sitting down and saying, okay, what does the Distinguished Club program look like this year? Where is everybody in their educational system, path? And how can we get there? What is the path to get to Distinguished, which we got this past year, which was very exciting. I could not do that if the VP of Ed before me hadn't laid the groundwork in a spreadsheet to help us track, hadn't been there to mentor me through my role. So if you're taking on a role for the first time, I would definitely lean on the person who held the role previously. Or if that person's no longer in your club, the person who held it before them, because they'll be able to give you insights into how to do the role. They'll be able to give you feedback on how to use Leadership Central and Club Central, which is not always the easiest website. And the number one takeaway that I would give you is that the real role of officers is to be the club cheerleaders. It doesn't matter which position you are in. Your goal is to help your club members meet their goals for why they joined Toastmasters. And you just have to keep that in front of them and keep them excited. And if you've noticed that somebody has missed a couple of meetings, go ahead and reach out, regardless of whichever position you are holding. Go ahead if you feel like you have a good rapport with them and send them an email or a text and say, I've missed you at the last couple of meetings. What's going on? Are you just really busy? Is there something going on? And be there to support them. And that's really the role of an officer, no matter the title. Thanks, Scott. You're on mute.
No, there we go. Fantastic. Thank you. I hit mute and it didn't unmute. Thank you so much, Lisa. Give Lisa a hand. Very nice. Very, very nice. So there's always multiple perspectives, though. I'm interested in also hearing, how did you build the relationships between yourself as an officer and your members to help guide them and walk with them along the way? Rick, as someone who has come from other from other districts like myself, what best practices or what experiences have you seen to be able to help build those relationships with others to help them along their journey to wherever that journey may want to take them?
Well, I'd say to start with, you have to convince the members and that the reality of your care is about them and their ability to achieve their objectives. In the old school, that would have been called mentorship, but nowadays, I guess it's called coaching, unless the relationship lasts for a very long time. As an officer, you have different kinds of roles, but every role is between you and the club members in some way. And that goes to the time that we're recruiting to bring people in, to the time that people achieve their educational objectives. For me personally, the most wonderful thing is to see that person to come in and do their icebreaker and have them complete a path or have them get their DTM after a couple of years. And to see that person grow, it's, for those of you that are like gardeners, what do you do when you're planting a plant? You put it in the ground, give it enough soil, water it whenever it needs it. You might have to pick bugs off it. It's almost the same way with a beginning person in Toastmasters. They come in within a shell and a seed, a little bit of watering, maybe that icebreaker, they start to grow up. And then sooner or later, they're going to blossom. I love it to watch that blossom take place. And every year it blossoms something more. Now, with that analogy in place, I guess the question is, can you always be successful at that? I'll give you an experience from our club this past year. Starting this year, Starting this year, we lost most of our members because they perceived that there's nothing in Pathways for them. Now that, in my opinion, was a fault of leadership beforehand, but we also gained 12 members this year. And we came out ahead of where membership was at the end. Why was that? That was because all of the officers in our club were really convinced that they had to make those members successful. Some examples: in order to get people onto Pathways, the VPE took every new member out to coffee at a Caribou Coffee place and walked them through selecting their membership or their pathway to make them comfortable. The VPPR tried all kinds of new things. She brought the members in, or the potential members in, and then the entire club helped bring them on board. How could you have done 12 members without having about 24, 25 guests, right? So that's the thing. I think I look at every member as someone that's in the midst of growing, getting to an objective. And each of us as a club officer is responsible for helping them find their own way to meeting those objectives.
Very nice. Thank you so much, Rick. Thank you. Thank you. So with that answer, it poses a couple of other questions for us. We no longer have the ability to take everybody to a Caribou Coffee location, mainly because many of them are closed now. So it's going to be up to all of us to find new ways to be able to engage with people, drawing on our past experiences. Diane, I am very interested to hear from you from past experiences. What have you learned about how to engage members and help them take those next steps forward that maybe you didn't know as you started this journey?
Okay, thanks, Scott. I am the immediate past president of the Toastmasters Club of Fishers. And prior to moving to Indianapolis, I was a part of 2 different clubs in the Columbus, Ohio area as VPPR in both of those. My experience here is far more nourishing and oh gosh, I feel like we've achieved far more than anything I had in my prior clubs. And that is largely because we have a long history in this club of success. We're celebrating our 25th anniversary as a club this September. So, so I will preface it by saying I had a pretty easy runway because of that momentum. And yet we still had a lot of churn. We have 33 members. We started with 36, but 15 of those members are new because we have people cycling in and out. And so one of the things that I learned was that oftentimes people come and go not because not because we're doing a poor job, but because life changes, jobs change, schedule changes, daycare, childcare changes. So I learned not to take that personally and just keep the momentum going as we got inquiries in primarily from the TI website. We get inquiries almost every week and we jump on them, and we developed a routine. If they sometimes they came directly to me as president, and sometimes they also came to our VP membership. But regardless, as soon as I saw that come in, I forwarded it to our membership person, and between the 2 of us, we coordinated same day who was going to reach out to that person. So to me, engagement with members starts with the very first inquiry, even before they become a member. And then when they visit, to follow up, which our David Rainey did very well, very consistently. And then when they joined, engaging is one-to-one. You can say all day long, go to the website and send them the welcome email and do all of that, but it doesn't really engage a lot of the people until you're talking with them. Now, for me, I've been an online advocate from day one. I've been doing web conferencing for 20 years professionally. So it was welcome for me for everything across the board in Toastmasters to move virtually. Not that I don't want to go back to our on-site setting. Of course I do. I miss it as much as anybody, and our members do. But in terms of engaging one-on-one, I found it far easier with Zoom. If you have a new member, and we've gotten several since we've just even been on Zoom, it's so easy then to say either can you plan to stay on for another 15 minutes after a meeting so we can go over pathways, or can we meet on Wednesday evening? And we've got a perpetual link that for our site, and it's just easy. So I anticipate that once we get back to a what I call a land-based meeting instead of a virtual-based meeting, I anticipate that we will incorporate Zoom very routinely in day-to-day coaching. And when it's not possible to go to Caribou Coffee, we can do it right here.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Diane. That is wonderful. That is wonderful. I think there is definitely some opportunity. There's upsides and downsides to us meeting on Zoom. It is way more, it's easier for us to make meetings. Like, we don't get stuck in traffic unless our dog stops us by the kitchen. There is no traffic jams. There's no time wasted driving across the city. We have the ability to go to any meeting we want, anywhere we want. I think that's a great point, to be able to engage people that we would normally never meet and help create membership opportunities from folks that don't even live in our same zip codes, area codes, states even. I'm interested now in, Angela, I'm going to call on you for this one. As the club growth director and somebody who has been highly involved in corporate clubs, how do you see the relationship between club officers and members being able to uphold corporate values and corporate cultures to help members within corporate clubs be able to come a little bit more fully entrenched in what the organization is trying to do, not just from a Toastmaster standpoint, but from a business standpoint, from your company standpoint?
Thanks for that question, Scott. I'll try to get myself situated here. I know where I work, we have our guiding principles, and I compare them to the values that we have in Toastmasters. At Kentucky Farm Bureau, our guiding principles are connectivity. They are, and now that I have to think of all four of them on my top of my head, I'm not going to be able to get them all. But please, if you know anyone that's on the call that's also from Kentucky Farm Bureau, please don't let them know how poorly I did. But connectivity is one. Customer service is another one, operational excellence, and there's one more about being more connected and championing people. And those corporate values that we have really fit into the same values that Toastmasters has. So what we've done at Kentucky Farm Bureau is used the values that we have and work them in with Toastmasters. It's not uncommon in our meetings to have folks that are giving presentations about one of these corporate values to go ahead and give their pitch to the folks that are in the meeting, so that they have that sandbox, that safe place that they can try new things out and try to determine, hey, is this going to go over really well? Get really good feedback as well. I can tell you the biggest thing for me from Toastmasters that has helped me to be effective in my role, and my role at Kentucky Farm Bureau is a training consultant. I create training programs, but the big thing that I get from Toastmasters that helps me so much on a day-to-day basis is feedback and evaluation. Every single time that I get an evaluation on my speech, or I give an evaluation, or I hear someone else's evaluation, those become things that I'm able to then take. And when I have to give feedback to a learner, or I have to help someone else in the company and give them feedback on a process process or a system or a project that we're working on. Those things are all really wound together nicely. And the feedback and evaluation skills that I've gained from Toastmasters have helped me so much to be able to give people the gift of feedback where I work. And I think it's really important, especially as we're thinking about growing new clubs and looking at potential corporations that we can expand Toastmasters into. We need to be sure that there's a good corporate fit, because when there is a really good corporate fit, great things happen. I'll turn that back over to you, Scott.
Thank you so much, Angela. That was fantastic. Thank you. There's a couple things that I keep hearing from here. One of them is Toastmasters is a wonderful place to learn how to fail, because we can stumble and fall flat on our face, but as long as we're failing forward, we're moving forward. It gives us that opportunity to fail in private at Toastmasters so we can succeed in public in wherever it is we're trying to do outside of Toastmasters. And all of us have a different journey. We all have a little bit of a different path to how we ended up here. I'm going to open this question up to everybody who is on the call, all 71 other participants besides me. I want to hear from a couple of folks, what drew you to Toastmasters? What keeps you in Toastmasters? Just unmute yourself, and I'd love to hear from a couple of you about what keeps you in Toastmasters, what drew you here in the first place. Who wants to share your own individual, just a short little 30-second why you ended up at Toastmasters and what keeps you here?
I joined Toastmasters primarily to be able to improve my impromptu speaking ability. From time to time, when I was working full-time, I'm now retired, I had opportunities to speak in front of several people in various meetings, and I learned that without preparation is a lot more difficult than just speaking off the top of your head. So that was one of my main reasons. Another was the ability to meet new people in the community.
John Biggs, thank you so much. Thank you very much for that. That is fantastic. I think that echoes a lot of reasons why people join, without a doubt. Who else? Joan, I can see you raising your hand.
Yeah, my name is Joan Chen. I originally came from China back 20-some years ago, but as an immigrant, even though I learned many years English, communicating in English is still it's a challenge for me, and that's why I heard about Toastmaster program many years ago through one of my college classmates back in China. He came here to the United States too. It was a great experience to him. And it just so happened, I never get a chance. I heard about this program and never get a chance to get involved with it until last year, Becky from the same company, she's an officer in the program, and she sent out a link to our company intranet, and I just jumped at it. And then so far it's been a great experience to me. And I learned not just be a silent worker in the company, I learned try to speak in public. I feel more and more comfortable now.
Very nice. Thank you, Joan. That was Joan Chen. Thank you very much. One more. I'd love to hear one more person's story about what drew you in, what keeps you here. Karen, I can see you waving furiously in the corner.
I wasn't sure how many faces you could see all at once. I joined the Greater Greenwood Toastmasters about 14 years ago. It was really almost by a fluke. The director of HR in the department where I worked called me in one day and suggested that I might want to try Toastmasters. She knew about it, had been a member for a while. She kind of indirectly implied that I needed to learn to say things, whether they were written or verbal, more succinctly. I thought I was very capable of that. I have a teaching background, but that was interesting. I had no idea what Toastmasters was. I visited once, I visited the second time, and I signed up. And what I think what I have benefited from, I've been in several different officers, held different offices, and I love the diversity of the club in terms of ages, personalities, life experiences that people bring. It's been fantastic. I love the skills that we all are helping each other to learn. And as one gentleman said earlier, I love seeing someone go, it was like when I was a teacher, from September to June, you just watch this progress, and it's so exciting. I'm not afraid to stand in front of people and speak, as many are who come. But I have a lot of other skills, bad habits I needed to get rid of, and so on. So the skills, the relationships have drawn me in, kept me in. Those are just some of the things. I could probably go on with a much longer list, but I have thoroughly enjoyed being a part of this club. And the turnover has been amazing. So there's constantly someone new faces, new personalities, new relationships, and the connecting of people with one another and finding things in common has just been very exciting, as well as the leadership challenges.
Thank you.
Thank you. Back to you, Scott.
So much, Karen. So if I just want to see a thumbs up. Do any of these stories resonate with you as to why you became a member in the first place? Anything sound somewhat familiar? How many of you also heard something that might be just a little bit different from why you came here? That maybe there's some similarities, but there's also some differences out there. So we all belong to clubs with multiple members, because shockingly, we all joined Toastmasters not because we thought we could do this all on our own, but because we thought maybe we needed this other group of crazy people to help us along our journey. So we joined clubs that had other members in there. As an officer, I'm going to open this up to everybody again. How do you find out why other members join, and how do you connect to those folks that may not have joined for the same reason that you joined? How do you build that connection within your clubs? What have you seen that has worked that other members can learn from? Because we all are out there trying to solve our own issues in our own way. Lisa, I see you coming off mute again.
Yeah, so one of the things that I do as VP of Ed is, and I started this last year, is I ask everybody what their goal is for the year. And when they come into the club for the first time, that's some of the things that we do as club officers when we're welcoming people, finding out why they've come to visit us, what they're interested in, and really talking through our personal journeys as well, to share why we're in Toastmasters and what we're getting, because we have some very seasoned people in the club as well as some very new members, and it's that unique journey of why you're here. And then I actually when we were meeting in person, I made a big poster board that had all of the goals, and I put it out at every meeting. I don't know what I'm going to do this year, but I do just a quick Google form, just asking people, like, what level do you want to achieve in your path this year? What can we help you in with your leadership this year? Those sorts of questions. And then as a leadership team, we sit down and we talk about it. Most of the time, I'm the only one who knows which goal belongs to which member, so that they can really be open. But as a whole team, we sit down and we say, oh, well, 3 people want to hit level 3 this year. How can we make sure that we're stewarding them along throughout the year, reminding them of that goal? This person wants to be better at doing in-person speaking off the cuff. Let's make sure that during table topics, we're giving them that extra opportunity as much as we can. And really just keeping on top of those goals that the whole club has, and making it visible for the whole club so that everybody can be in support of one another.
Very nice. Thank you so much, Lisa. Thank you. I want to hear from somebody else now. What do you do to help build that communication between members so you know why somebody joined and how you can help them individually on their journey? What else does somebody do out there? Jan, I can see you reaching for your computer to unmute.
Yes, I'm Jan Goditis, and I'm from Bloomington, Indiana. Good evening, Toastmasters. And last year I mentored a graduate student who was an international student, and I work with her on speeches, and her English is very, very good. but it's been a good learning and a growth experience for me because I didn't know that I would be good as a speech coach. And I think that I have helped the speeches get better and maybe help little grammatical things and some, cliches or things that we talk about in English. But with the pandemic, it's been a good way to still one-on-one with someone to talk with them every other week. Approximately, she's working on a lot of speeches and very active in the club. But I thought that was good for me as a growth for me, and maybe it's helped her as well, hopefully. But I've been in Toastmasters for 12 years, and that was the first time I mentored someone, and I gained a lot from it.
Very nice. Thank you so much, Jan. Jan, I have a follow-up question for you. You're going to have to unmute yourself one more time here. I have a follow-up question for you. As a mentor, what did you gain from the mentoring experience as the mentor? Because we know what the mentee hopefully gains. What did you gain as a mentor?
I think I gained the confidence to be able to do it again with someone else, because you wonder how much time it's going to take. You prepare beforehand, you read, she types it out, I read it several times. I make editorial things like you're correcting a paper, but then you have to think, how do I make this better as a speech? So I think it's helped me see speech structure better, and also working with someone, an international student. She doesn't mind getting input and getting suggestions. Some people, when you work with new members that come to the club that are international background where English is the second language, you want to make sure you don't offend somebody by being too critical with any grammatical mistake or something. But we've worked together so long now that I don't think she doesn't mind that I make suggestions to her. And I always say, this is your choice, it's your decision, but you could say it this way, or perhaps you could say it that way. So which way would you prefer to say it? So I'm not like saying this has to be that way and trying to come up with a way of working so it's collaborative in the process.
Fantastic. Mentoring, absolutely. Jan, thank you so much for sharing that. Thank you very much. I think you'll find that the mentoring program, the mentoring process can be just as exciting for the one who is mentoring as the one who is being mentored. That relationship can help both members take the next step in whatever that journey is that they're trying to take. So I did from one other person, tell me a little bit about those relationships. What have you kind of learned through this? Anybody else want to share something? Because I have another follow-up question. Dave Parnan, from the darkness of his basement, my friend.
Well, the sun is going down. As far as relationships go, to find out what people want to accomplish in Toastmasters, we have time before the meeting. We're setting up the room, we're gathering on Zoom. So we chat. If nothing else, think of it as an extended table topic. You say something to them, they respond. And in the process, you learn more about them, they learn more about you. You get a feel for what they're good at. And also the time after the meeting, it's a chance to offer feedback that may not have been in the formal evaluations of the meeting. You can say, hey, I really liked when you did that wild gesture. It really added to it. And just the encouragement of people to get more involved, to do more. So it's that before time, the after time. I always say the meeting begins when the second person arrives. When the second person arrives, that gives you a chance to start communicating, because after all, we are a communications organization.
Very nice. Thank you so much, Dave. Thank you. So I asked those questions really to set up this question. We pretty much know why we joined Toastmasters. We have a pretty good idea of why we keep coming back to our individual club on a regular basis, what keeps drawing us back to those people. And we have a pretty good idea of how to somewhat draw out those conversations with other members. All of you stepped up to be officers this year. What do you hope to get out of being an officer this year? because you're about to dedicate a year of your life to helping others and to being part of an organization in a leadership capacity. What is it that you want to get out of being an officer this year? Or what have you gotten out of it in the past? I would love to hear from some other folks out there. And if you haven't thought about that before, I want you to start thinking about that. Why? Why are you doing this? What do you want to get out of it?
Well, I'm hoping to help the club grow, and in order to do that, I want to try and share the passion that I have with this club with the rest of my club, because I was one of the founding members 5 years ago, and I've really gotten a lot out of it, and I want to see other people get the same kind of thing that I've gotten.
Very cool. I have no idea who that was, though. I'm so sorry. I couldn't find you on the screen.
It's Brad.
Oh, thank you very much, Brad. Thank you. So you want to help some other folks grow just like you have grown. I know that I saw somebody reaching for their monitor. Oh, Kyle, as a brand new Toastmaster in a brand new club in Fort Wayne, what do you want to get out of this year as an officer?
I hope to help the rest of my fellow Toastmasters and encourage them to stick with this program, because as you mentioned, this is an entirely new club, just chartered as of this last March. And of course, chartering during the pandemic has been a little difficult, because we've not only had to start learning how to do the club process, but learning to do the club virtually and online. So my goal as the president of our Toastmasters club is just to kind of be the cheerleader and keep everybody on board with this, because it is a trying process. We just had another one of our meetings today, and several of things popped up out of order just because of scheduling conflicts, but it just took some time, and it will take time and a lot of learning. I just hope everybody sticks with it.
Very cool. What do you, if you can look a year ahead, how do you hope to be different this coming year? If you look at yourself 1 year from today, how do you hope this experience changes you a year from today?
This is Moise Mopoma from Elizabethtown, Kentucky. And
Hey,
can you
how
hear
are
me
you?
okay?
Absolutely.
This is stepping outside of my comfort zone. This is my first time becoming the VP of Education. And I look to grow more than anything else. And in this process, help others to grow, engage them in so many different ways. You know, Toastmasters has helped me in a lot of ways, but I've always been in the background. And when this opportunity came, nobody stepped to the front to step into this role. And I felt like there was a light shining on the back of my head saying, you need to step forward outside your comfort zone and do something. And I did so. So from a year from now, my intention is to be better than I am today, more than anything else, and more confident in the roles that are presented, you know, I guess for me and for my team and for the group of people that we interact with on a daily basis.
Very nice. Thank you. And when you have questions, and you will have questions, reach out to all of us who have been VPEs many times. We are all more than happy to help you. We know that it is a daunting role. All the roles are daunting, but VPE can be somewhat overwhelming. So if you get stuck, don't be stuck by yourself. Let us be stuck with you. We'd be more
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Absolutely. So we've talked a little bit about why we join, about what we're hoping to get out of the club officer role, about some of the ways we engage members, about some of the bigger picture types of things. But I'm sure that we're not touching on all of the questions that you have. I would love to hear from all of you, especially those who have never been officers before. What are the challenges that you're looking at in the roads thinking, how am I going to do that? What am I supposed to do with this thing? I'd love to hear some of those questions and see if we can find you some answers from the other 70 folks that are on this call. So who has those questions that you really want to know about that you have to ask somebody, and this is a lot of somebodies?
This is Jude Gallagher.
Hey,
and
Jude.
The biggest challenge I've had of late this is the end of my first year being VP Education, is those members who have been around for a very long time, completed a manual, and need to get that credit into the pathways and receive their acknowledgement, their credit for it. And the system is terrible. It's so frustrating, and the email traffic back to Toastmasters International is being returned with, we're really swamped right now. We did get your email. Sorry, we'll get around to you. And yet some of these items that people want to get credit for, there's not a true area in the Leadership Central or in Club Central area for it. So that's actually my biggest challenge right now, is making sure that they get the credit and the club gets credit.
So can you be a little bit more specific? What are those things that you're trying to help folks get credit for that don't fall under regular categories? How can we help?
Like as in, hang on.
Okay.
Like as in project completion records that are not currently within any type of format there. I've got a couple. And honestly, if they were completing like advanced Toastmaster, whatever that title is, there would be a place for it. But these other project completion records, there's not.
Like what's an other project completion record?
That's all I can tell you, Scott. Okay, if you think about that, if I had even more information, I might be able to actually figure it out where it is in the system. It is nowhere to be found. I think what's worse is that our web service support is just, it's not good right now. So it's not a great design training system, having been on many corporate systems that were built off of the same platform that they're on. And certainly when you have a system that's difficult to navigate, it's very important that your customer service is up and running and doing well. So that is where we are. If anyone has had other luck, please feel free to contact me.
So if you are stuck, as Judith is stuck out there right now, who can help somebody like Judith work through some of these issues? Who are the folks that, if she was to scan those papers and send them to someone, who might she send those to be able to help get her some answers?
Has anyone been trying to get manuals into the digital environment?
Yes, Scott, I was the president for Jude, and I know she's struggled with this, but at the same time, I was vice president of education of another club, and I was trying to do the same thing. I had a member who had completed her advanced communicator bronze, and it had taken her 20 years to do the 20 speeches. She had kind of messy records. We finally straightened it all out, and I submitted it online, and I got the message, we can't process this. Send us an email. I send them an email, and they send back and said, we're busy right now, but we'll get back to you. And then they sent my next email was, have you resolved this? We hope you've resolved this. And of course I hadn't. And in my case, it was just continue to ask them to please answer me. And I finally got it done before the end of the Toastmaster year. And unfortunately, Jude has not had the same luck. And I don't know how else to do it, but continue to.
So there's a couple groups of folks out there that can help with this process. From all of you, who might you help include some of these folks to help manage this process for you? Who can be a resource for you to help somebody like Jude or like Doug get through this? Who can you contact?
How about Scott Brown?
There you go.
Before we get to me, are there levels underneath the trio that maybe serve the district in different capacities?
Sure. Area and division directors.
Exactly. Area directors can help. Division directors can help. If you send that sort of stuff and get your area and division directors involved, they can help manage that communication through TI as well. When they can't get involved, they can get hold of myself Angela, Jean, we can try to get hold of TI as well. Don't sit out there with stuff that you're holding just because you're hoping that somebody working from their kitchen in Denver might have time to finally get to your question. Get some other folks involved. We all have resources and networks that if we don't know the answer, we might just be able to know the person that knows how to do that thing. So don't get stuck by yourself. Get stuck with somebody else. Bring some other folks in as well. Let us be part of the solution. Don't feel like you're just out there by yourself, because you never are. That's a very good point. And Judith, if you want to send me some of that stuff, scan it and email it to me. I'd love to see what you're actually talking about.
Sure.
Cool.
I'll do that.
Very good. Thank you. So what other questions are out there? I have about 8 minutes left, it looks like, 7 minutes left. What other questions are out there that we would like to be able to answer, that you would like us to answer about your role?
Hi, this is Todd Borth. I'm in Notre Dame Toastmasters. I'm the Vice President of Membership, and in reading about my role, part of the job is membership, the membership contest, the Smedley Award, Talk Up Toastmasters. I'm wondering what advice anyone has as far as motivating other members to recruit new members, and how to talk about that for those contests, or just in general, how to put people to work for Toastmasters in that way.
So if I'm hearing right, your question is really about how do I get members involved in doing club business and functioning for the club? Yes or no? Yes,
and in particular in the bringing new prospects into bringing in guests, and turning those guests into members.
Very cool. For those that have been around for a while, what suggestions do you have for Todd?
I have one.
Rick, yes.
What I tend to do is have a contest, a club contest, that gives points to various things they do. There's not even a reward at the end. It's just a matter of pride. So 5 points for bringing in a guest, another 5 points for sponsoring a member. And in addition, that same contest gives points for other things, like maybe 2 or 3 points for being Toastmaster and other meeting roles. So there's a little bit of an extra boost for both meeting roles and for bringing guests in and for getting guests to sign up and sponsoring a member. At the end of the year, the one at the top gets clapped at for the rest of us. And I'm surprised at the amount of motivation that brings.
Very nice. Very good, Rick. Lisa, I see your hand up also.
One of the things that our club has really done is had people share why they joined Toastmasters, why they keep coming back, and encouraging them to share that with their friends, their family, their colleagues. Really getting them to buy into sharing their passion and their reasons for coming to Toastmasters, what they're getting out of it, being open about it at work. We even gave out a ton of pens that said, ask me about Toastmasters. When we do club contests, instead of just giving the regular ribbons, we gave people little dollar store frames that had, I participated in the speech, or I was first, and it had the logo and everything, but that went on their desk. So when people are walking past, they go, oh, what did you do with what were you with this contest? What was this all about? And it just gives people the jumping off point of talking about Toastmasters. We also do a lot on social media and encourage our members to share when they've either hit a level, finished a level, or they finished a book, or they did their first speech, and we tag them. Of course, we ask their permission if we can take their picture, if we can tag them, all of that. But that gets their friends seeing it. We do a lot on LinkedIn, really getting people to celebrate their Toastmasters achievements there. It's just a way to get people talking about it. The more they talk about it, the more that they share their engagement and their passion, the more it'll bring other people in.
Very nice. Thank you so much, Lisa. Thank you. So I have one other suggestion for you, Todd. And this kind of doesn't just go towards your question, but towards every time you're trying to make any sort of a change within Toastmasters, within any organization. Change really stems very largely from the stories we tell, from the artifacts we show, and from the rituals we hold. Stories, artifacts, and rituals. When you learn to tell the stories that show what's in it for me, because folks are motivated by their own drives. Everyone has a different reason why they're here, why they come back. If you can tell the stories about what's in it for me, why should I be interested in this individual portion of Toastmasters? Why should I be interested in helping develop members and helping be involved in club programs, in the DCP program, in all of the membership owning programs? What's in it for me? From the artifacts, it's really about what are the things that you can hold up that remind people of when they've been successful, of being able to do the things that they wanted to be able to do. And the last is the rituals. How do you celebrate success? How do you draw people together in a way that connects them more fully? When they can see this, when they can see the stories, rituals, and artifacts that give them a reason to be involved, it becomes part of your culture. The more it becomes part of your culture, the less you have to convince people to do something, and it just becomes the way of Toastmasters, the way of your club. I've been a president of a Toastmasters club that had 78 members, and we had 45 people that came every single week. It was a huge club. And I've been a president of a club with 9 members. It works the same way. Stories, artifacts, and rituals help galvanize the why behind why you're a Toastmaster. So I hope that helps. I want to thank all of you. I want to thank all of you for stepping up to be club officers. I want to thank all of you for taking the time to watch videos or to do modules. And I want to thank all of you for taking the time to join us tonight for an hour conversation on what you can expect and how we can help you be more successful as a club officer. These roundtables are just part of what we're doing differently this year to help make sure everybody is transformed within their experience, has fun in what they're doing, and finds your experience meaningful in ways that you haven't felt before. We hope that this was enjoyable for you as it was for all of us. Before we log off, I want to again ask everyone to please remember to put your name, your club name, and your office role into the chat feature. If you have questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to me, your area directors, to your division directors. We are here for you. Our job is to make your life and your experience at Toastmasters as meaningful as possible. I thank you all so very much. And Chris Lynch, please also put in your club name and your office role all together in one text, into one chat. It'll make it way easier. So I want to thank all of you for joining. Thank you all very much. When you have questions, please ask. And toast on, my friends, toast on. I'm going to hit stop recording, and if anybody else wants to hang out for a while and ask questions, you're more than welcome to.
Thanks, Scott.